keep it on for the entire race. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that we have worked so hard for 3 hours to gain 200 yards on somebody and then lose that whole damn 200 yards in 2 or 3 minutes. And it's just because we quit. And it doesn't mean you can be intense and be having fun the whole way. And, you know, maybe the off-watch guys are having a little bit more fun than the on-watch guys. But the real secret is put the pedal down, leave the pedal down, and fight for every inch, just like you were sailing a 1-mile windward leeward course. And if you are pushing, and it's all about going fast. You know, it is go fast, you're fighting for that extra 1/10 of a knot, and if you keep doing it, after about 15 hours of that, it really adds up.
And that gets back to what we're talking about, you know, how to keep people engaged Sunday night. You just keep sailing hard, all the time. And that gets back to crew. What kind of watch systems do you guys use? Let's just start, and why? What do you prefer?
Well, I think it depends. You know, when I grew up, my dad liked this Swedish watch system. You bring on a new person every hour. The thought process is that, you know, you always have 3 people that have been up for at least an hour, one of them a couple, and so on. It gives you the continuation. A lot of people like to just, you know, if they had an 8-person crew, they switch 4 at a time, and they have a couple teams. What I've come to learn, and there's lots of sophisticated ways you can make this to the point where, frankly, you need a crew secretary to let you know whether you ought to be up or not. And, you know, particularly you get a little confused when it's in the middle of the night and it's dark and your eyes aren't quite as good. You can't read that little Excel sheet and everything you're supposed to be there at. But what I try and do that makes the most sense is that you really have to look at your skill level of players, and everybody would like a boat where everyone could do everything, and they could be the bowman, and they could be the best driver, and they could be the navigator, and so on. That just isn't the case. So now you look and say, all right, I got a bowman. Who's the next best person on the bow? They've got to be on the opposite watch. And those two have to switch places. Now, I don't care if they switch every 4 hours, 2 hours, whatever they do, but one of them has to be up there. Your 2 best drivers have to be there. If there's 2 people that know the boat better, what sails ought to be up, what ought to happen. If there's navigational skills, you look to equalize those out, and that's going to get you the best result. Now, in an ideal world, when you're building a team, you're understanding the skills of all of these people and you're trying to put it together. And I've been in a lot of situations where we're just putting together things just for these Mackinacs. It's a dream because you can build the dream team, so to speak. But out of your regular crew, you work on it, and obviously if there's deficiencies, if you don't have a second really good driver, maybe you ought to be letting them drive on Saturdays. Well, you aren't. And get them up the pace. But that's my thought of building a crew, is you try to get it balanced. I'll give you one final thing. That often when you do a maneuver, you need to bring up additional people. And one of the tricks, I can tell you, when we sailed a little stretch on Colt 45, and Colt 45 was not a sophisticated Santa Cruz 70, about 1/10 of the money that was spent on it that all the other boats, and we never had any pros aboard, and yet we sailed 5 years in a row, and our worst race was second, and we just stomped these guys. One of the things we did is we sailed with less people, and when you're trying to sail a 70-foot boat with 10 people, it's a little bit difficult when you're going to jibe. So the system that we came up with, and this would work on any boat, is that whenever you're going to do a maneuver, the people on board, you've got a driver, you've got trimmers, you've got people engaged in making the boat go fast, they continue to do that. The new group knows where their spot is. They come up, they report the duty, they jibe the boat, let's say, and then they go right down below. So that you disrupt it by shuffling people around and this and that. You always want your sail handlers to be the guys coming up on deck, and your speed people being the guys who are on deck. And it's really amazing how you can just pop up, do the maneuver right down, hardly miss any sleep, and not miss a beat. Pete?
I was going to mention that same thing about Chris bringing the folks up, but We've had good luck on boats, you know, starting the watch system around 6 o'clock on Saturday. Usually is a good time to start bringing, you know, get into the watch system, having dinner or whatever. We've had good results, say during the evening hours, switching every 3 hours, and then during the day, switching every 4 hours. So at night you're getting a little more fresh people up there, and you get into the dog watch at 3, 4 in the morning. Sometimes it's good to get some fresh bodies up there, and then during the day, you know, when the sun's out and it's hot and you can't sleep down below anyways, right? So sometimes it's good to at that point stretch it out a little bit by another hour or so, and that seems to have worked pretty good on the boats that I've sailed on. And a lot of times, you know, the navigator will just float. You know, he's on all the time, and you know, if there's not much going on, you know, get some rest during the evening, and he just floats. Like, you know, he can put an alarm on the computer, or, you know, put alarms on. They have the guys on deck, you know, say, listen, when we get this far or over to here, give me a jiggle.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. That works well, I think, for the navigator to be.
Yeah,
you're kind of as needed.
Right.
Sometimes you get a lot of sleep, and sometimes you don't get much. Right? Al?
Yeah. A little bit about watch systems have a lot to do with your personnel. And that every year you should probably have a different watch system, because every year you have a different set of personnel. You know, we've done it anywhere from, as Bob mentioned, that Swedish watch system is my least favorite, because it basically means that the boat is, you know, you never get any sleep. You know, every hour somebody's making some noise and turning lights on and things. You know, we've sailed with the buddy system, where we match up people of relatively equal skill, and we don't care if they're on 2 hours, off 2 hours, on 7 off. One of them's on deck all the time. We've done what Pete suggested, which is the 4 on, 4 off during the day. Then usually watches start after 6 o'clock in the morning. After 6 o'clock in the evening, there's 3 on, 3 off, and then in the next morning, anything that starts after 6, we go back to the 4 on, 4. If we only have 2 good sail handlers, often what we've done is we've said, you 2 guys are on watch every time we put something up or take something down. And any other time, you want to be on deck, fine. You don't want to be on deck, fine, but anytime we put something up or take it down, you guys are up. So you got to be a little creative so that you can pull it off and get it right. And the biggest thing you've got to do is you got to figure out a way to get some sleep. When the conditions are good, even though you're not tired, if it's just getting down below and getting out of the sun for a couple of hours, or just lying down even though you can't go to sleep, I guarantee the boat's going to do better. I mean, these guys that think that they're doing the boat some good by staying up all night or something like that, it turns out to be a disaster.
Paul? A lot on our boat, everyone knows our counterparts, you know, like the helmsmen, the foredecks, the sail trimmers, and basically one talks to the other. You know, basically I'm up, they'll go out and you all stay up the next 4, and the other guy goes down. We do have most of our people, except for like the old guys. The old guys will actually undress and jump in their sleeping bag, but most of the guys. More information. Most of the guys will have the rain gear on all night long, sleeping in the rain gear, ready to go. If we have to do any maneuver, they're up on deck. Couple floaters, you know, like I'll be a floater. And just like they said, if the boat is nice and smooth and it's smooth water and it's not predicted to change, we put as many people down as you can. One trick though we do is the loudest snore we make sleep at night to keep people on deck awake.
That's great.
Well, I mean, I think you guys beat this thing to death. All I know is that Al and I raced with Commodore Bayer a few years ago, and we let Commodore Meyer set up the watch system. He had this very elaborate spreadsheet, and nobody could figure out whether the X's meant whether you were on or off. So we had times where like 7 guys on deck, times there was 2 guys on deck. So just whatever system it is, figure out what it is.
Yeah, and I think a couple of the guys hit on something that's real key is getting this sleep and getting this rest, and I think a lot of people that sail with me are frankly surprised at how much I sleep. I think in these races I average 10 hours a day. If it's really a nice race, sometimes I'm never up when my watch is off. But you know, there's a method to this madness that this is a real thinking game.